Thanks for coming. It's good to see you all here. So I'm going to discuss two major climbs and just some general training tips. This is the profile for day 3. First one's Tawonga Gap, and I've ridden up this climb quite a few times. We ran our boot camp over it. It's part of a racing bike race that I used to do. It's a great climb and it's got an awesome view. Has anybody done Tawonga Gap before? Awesome view at the top and a great steady climb. So this climb's it's about 7 kilometres long. This is the actual climb here. This is me doing the Tawonga Gap loop, which is about 108 kilometres long. But this is the actual climb here from the base of Tawonga up through to the top, and you'll see I had a break in the middle. I don't know why that was, but anyway. So it's not certainly as high as Buffalo. So it's a really well-known climb in the Bright region. The gradient's about 6%, so it is fairly decent sort of gradient. It's not super steep, and the great thing about it is it's steady all the way through. The second climb that you'll encounter is on day 6. This is the Whitfield to Tolmie. It looks pretty scary. From the base of the climb at Whitfield up to the top of the course is about 31 kilometres. All right, so it seems pretty daunting. The actual average gradient from here to there is 1.2%. And if you look at the vertical metres, it's only 400 metres to the top, so it's not super high, right? But it does go on for a long time, so it's kind of like almost riding into a headwind for 31 kilometres with some downhill sections in it. All right, so the first major part of that section is about 12 kilometres, and both of the climbs in this are around 4%, so they're not very steep at all. I live in Mansfield, so I actually ride over to Whitfield and back again. It's a fantastic ride, and it's a really nice climb. It's nice and steady all the way through. It's got quite a few undulations through it, and it's really quite picturesque at the top. It's not a super narrow road, but it's a really country quiet road. Once you get to the top of it, it's all downhill to Mansfield. So this is Mansfield down here. Which is the most fearful? Look, I think the Tawonga Gap one's a little bit steeper. This one, I've got a bit of a story around this one. We took a wrong turn coming back from Bright one time and ended up in Mansfield. So we drove over this road for the first time ever, and when we were driving over, I thought, this is a fantastic road. It just felt like you kind of just went on forever. So the really important thing about this climb is that when you are on it, is just to sort of just pick out points. You know, next corner, I'll just ride to the next corner and just, you know, enjoy the view. Get up early in the morning, make sure you're on the road early, and just enjoy the climb for what it is. Okay, so it's not very steep, but the Tawonga Gap one's a little bit steeper, being 7%. So that one is going to be really important to just get your gearing right and make sure that you just get into it nice and easy. It's got a couple of switchbacks in it that kind of steepen up a little bit. There's a couple in there. The first one that you'll hit fairly soon into the climb, and then there's another one just a little bit further up. But this one's a fantastic climb. It's just nice and steady. All right. So that's what you're up with the climbs. So there's a few things that we can work on. One is your power to weight ratio. All right. So the heavier you and your bike are, the more power you need to put in to do the same sort of speed. All right. Your aerobic fitness, obviously, how much strength that you've physically got, your speed training that you do, and the technique of climbing. So I'll go through all of those. Basically, you know, if you were to lose a little bit of weight, you climb faster, okay? Whether it's be off the bike. So those sort of days, you don't want to have your big pannier bags and, you know, lots and lots of stuff on your bike for those 2 days. You just want to keep yourself fairly light, and just make sure that you keep your weight down on your bike. To give you an idea, you know, we work around 3 to 5 watts per kilogram. If you've got the difference between 70 and 100 kilogram rider, you've got 150 watts difference in power. So, if that makes sense. So just keep the weight low. For building good climbing speed, we first build some really nice aerobic base. All right, and that's just easy riding. You don't have to go out there and just kill yourselves. Just go out nice, long, consistent riding. All right, it doesn't have to be of high intensity and regular. The consistency is the key. And a lot of people get it wrong, and they think if I go out there and do a really hard ride once a week, you know, I'm going to be right. It's actually more important to do regular rides. So that's where, like, commuting into work, getting out on the weekend and doing a little bit more riding, those sort of things really help, just keeping it consistent. So keeping your riding consistent is much more important than going out there and doing a really hard spin class at the gym once a week or something like that, all right? So the next thing is strength. I'll talk a little bit about strength training and then speed training, all right? So we go through those 3 cycles, and let me know if this gets a little bit too technical. So I've talked a little bit about aerobic base, and aerobic base can be done on flat. It's amazing if you ride between 90 and 100 RPM on a flat road in what we call E1, which is, does anybody work with heart rate monitors? Nobody works with heart rate monitors? All right, okay, I'll keep it really simple then. If you're able to have a conversation with the person next door to you, you're riding in what we call E1, all right? So you can hold a conversation. So if you do a lot of riding in that sort of zone, they call it the fat burning zone, and you keep your cadence fairly high, somewhere between 90 to 100 RPM, you're actually building aerobic fitness that's going to help you not only riding along the flat, but in the hills as well, all right? Really easy, and it's just what we call basic volume. So if you're able to do, you know, 2.5 longer hours in the weekend to build volume, that will help. So what we usually do with our programs when we've got people training for these sort of events is we ask them to ride, if they can do a regular ride or a commute during the week, 2 or 3 times a week, and then they get out on the weekend and do at least a ride that's somewhere between 2.5 hours if they can build up to that, all right? And then they're building a really good aerobic base, all right? So strength training now, strength training also, when you get on something like a 7% gradient, your cadence will actually drop, okay? So it's really important to keep your cadence high. So gearing on your bike becomes really important. And a lot of people get to these events, they're riding a fairly, you know, a hybrid type bike, fairly heavy bike, and the gearing on it still is designed for flat roads. So you just want to check that your gearing on your bike is designed more for hill climbing, for these sort of climbs. So you keep your cadence higher, and that means you're relying more on your aerobic fitness to get up the climb, rather than relying on your strength, because your strength's not going to, you know, when you go to a gym and you lift a heavy weight, all right, and what happens after you've lifted the heavy weight a few times? You get really tired, don't you? All right, so it's the same thing with bike riding. As you lower your cadence, you're relying more on your strength than your aerobic fitness. So the idea is to keep your cadence high, just ease yourself into those climbs, all right? Now, we do want to build a little bit of strength for climbing because it's important, because when you're riding up Tawonga, you know, 7% gradient, there will be points where you're going through some of those hairpins where your cadence will drop a little bit lower. So what we do is occasionally when we go out and do some of this weekend riding, we'll find a nice hill and we'll drop our cadence to 70 RPM to get our body used to riding at those lower cadences, all right? Because muscles don't understand cadence, they understand torque or pressure being applied, force, all right? So it's important to get used to doing just a few of your hill climbs in your local area. So maybe you've got a ride that you like to do on the weekend and it's got a climb that maybe takes you 10 minutes to get up, then just ride up that climb like you would do normally, and then, you know, every now and again you want to do it at a lower cadence, so 1 or 2 gears harder than you would normally ride up it, just to build up a little bit of strength. Now the important thing about that is that you really want to focus on technique, and I'll cover that off later on, but remember that when you're driving into the bike, it's just really focus on stabilising your core and really working on a nice smooth pedal stroke rather than just smashing away at those pedals, all right? Now the other thing is I talk a little bit about functional strength training, because obviously if you're going out there and riding a lot of hills in the weekends, that's going to help you with your hill climbing, right? So if you get the opportunity in your weekend rides, is just build up and just do it gradually. You know, if you find hills really daunting, then just start off really gradually. So just find a lower gradient hill that's not too long in your local area, start riding up that, and then as you get more confident, then start riding on longer gradient, you know, higher gradient, longer hills, all right? Or go around and do a few repeats. There's no problem if you don't have many hills in your area, is to just find a hill that you really enjoy climbing and just do a few of them, 1 or 2 of them, and then, you know, 3 or 4 the next week, and just build it up, all right? So, but hill climbing, doing a bit of hill climbing in your riding during the weekends will certainly help you on those, all right? So it'll prepare your body for what you're actually going to be doing.